I, in the end of the words, is when I am going to do a book review. Simply a creative name that made me laugh, so that is what I named it. For the first book, it is The Devil at the Crossroads by James Barwick. This is, what year was this out? Looks like 1988. Original 86. I guess this edition, 88. I tried to find a cover image to put in the video, but I couldn't find one anywhere. Even on the app I use to track what I read, Goodreads, there isn't even a cover on there. I mean, this cover is, once again, if you saw my last video, when I say things with swastikas draw my eye, it's not at all because I like Nazis. It's not at all because I think that it's a good thing. I hate everything fascism. I hate everything that involves Nazis and the Holocaust. But the symbolism of it is really heavy, I think is what I'm trying to say. So that cover is actually pretty wild. I may still try to find an image and get it to put in the video. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know how to do any of these things. But I know the first thing I need to say is this is my third video since coming back. I'm not back. Take that back. I'm not back. This is my third video I've made since being gone, and this is the third time I've had this hat on. Let me please explain the hat. I had somebody who cut my hair all the time. She moved away. I have a hard time trusting other people to cut my hair. It's not hard. It's not complicated. I want a businessman's cut. That's it. Tapered up the sides long enough to come over. That's all I want. But I fear when I tell somebody that, they'll hear, this guy's an asshole. Let's fuck his head up. So I either need to find a barber, because I'll actually be able to say something to a man. If I go to a female, I feel like I'm too nice. They could do anything to my head. I'll look in the mirror. They could have cut half of it off, left the other half perfectly the way it was, and said, is that all right? And I said, yeah, it's good. I would pay, give them a nice tip, go in my car, and punch the steering wheel for 10 minutes. That is what would happen. So I look like a BG under the hat. I have hair much like the hippie, and I hate it, so I hide it under this hat. So you will have to deal with the hat. Now to the book. Devil at the Crossroads takes place pre-World War II, when right at the moment when Paris is declared an open city. It kind of follows along the timeline of, it starts up when the Germans are kind of still coming into power. The Nazi Socialist Party, the National Socialist Party, is coming into power. Hitler's already in control of Germany. And we meet a man named Theo Chandler, who's an American who moved to Paris to be a painter. And he ends up meeting some fine woman that he has affairs with. I guess he was married, but his wife separated. She's in England. That part of the story doesn't matter. But this woman he spends his nights with, they go to a nice hotel once in a while. She ends up becoming murdered. And when she gets murdered, she's staying at her sister's apartment as she's murdered. Theo gets a job. By the way, I've thrown a lot of shit at you. This is just, it's what I love. Hopefully you can follow and then get along, because there's interesting parts I want to talk about. Theo gets a job with somebody he met through Jacqueline, which is his mistress. We'll go mistress. And he ends up smuggling Jews out of Germany in order to get away from the Nazis, obviously. For a fee, of course. Well, Jacqueline is murdered, and very shortly after that, he is brought into the investigation of who murdered her. But as the investigation is going on, Paris is declared an open city. Most of the government leaves. They just take off. They take all the paperwork. Now, as the Germans come to actually stay in Paris, they come to inhabit Paris, they continue the investigation, which is very strange. He doesn't understand why. And, I mean, the Gestapo, I mean, they're not Munch from Law and Order. He's not cracking jokes. The Gestapo, they are evil human beings. I mean, I don't know all of them. Maybe there was a nice one. Maybe there was a guy who bought coffee for the crew. I don't know. I doubt it. But I can't say for sure. Moving on. As the investigation continues, these more and more secret things come up, and it seems that the order to find out who killed her is coming down from the top, as high as Himmler. And Himmler is actually a character in this book. Hitler actually makes an appearance as a character in this book. So it's very much a historical novel. And I like the way that the history is combined with an actual story, because usually the first paragraph of every chapter they explain what's happening in the time frame, how far the Germans have ascended, where the demarcation line is, where the front line is, where we are in the treaty talks, if the treaty already happened. And through a lot of this, you see during the investigation, and you see a lot of the inner politics of the Gestapo, the SS, the whole Nazi Socialist Party. Because basically, if you gave an order through somebody with a word of mouth, you could just kill that person, and that order never existed. So a lot of the people are very iffy on following orders unless they have it in writing, if it's something serious. As we go along, he wants to finally escape and wants to get out of Paris after he initially decided he was going to stay there. But once he started getting investigated, he wanted to get out. Well, that's when the Gestapo got involved, took his passport, took everything. So prior to him getting investigated, he was offered a job by Jacqueline's sister, the one who's his mistress's sister. The apartment where she was staying, they met at her funeral, which he paid for because he felt bad that she didn't have anybody and he wanted to show that he was innocent. I don't know if that does the job, but he met her there. She kind of offered him a job. Nope, wrong. She did not offer him a job. There's a reporter there who offered him a job to smuggle her sister out of the country. Won't tell him why. Just says, "Hey, I'll pay you money. You're leaving anyway. Take her this way instead of the way you're going. Go with her." He refuses. When the Gestapo gets him, he goes back to her and says, "All right, I got no other choice. I can do it." At that point, something gets mixed up and they can't do it. Eventually, and I'm going to spoil everything, and I don't want to go on forever about this. I just want to talk about the parts I like. But eventually, the book reveals to us that the reason that this order has been sent down to find out who murdered Jacqueline is because they weren't trying to murder Jacqueline. They were trying to murder Marie, I think her name is, Anne Marie. And they were trying to murder Anne Marie. It was her apartment. Jacqueline was in it. They thought she was the one. The reason they're trying to murder her, here's the big twist. Here's the big story. She was actually Hitler's daughter, born of a Jew. So Hitler had sex with a Jewess, which is what she's called in the book. And this is prior, like when he was just on his they're in World War I, maybe. And this is actually his daughter. Himmler set out to kill her in order to extinguish any remnants of Hitler messing up, showing he's human. I don't know. Eventually, he does consult Hitler, and Hitler says, "Yeah, take care of it, but I want to see her here." If Hitler would have just said, "Yeah, kill her," that book would end in a very different way. But there's an unknown, not an unknown, but an unlikely hero in a local inspector here, a French inspector. I really enjoyed though seeing the politics, the inner workings, if you will, no matter how fictitious they are in this book, the inner workings of the political hierarchy that we had during this time. And it was very, very just, you couldn't do anything. Everybody had another level that they had to go to. Very strong characters in this. Inspector Krebs, the Gestapo's inspector, had carte blanche to do whatever he wanted to do. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly. He had free reign to do whatever he wanted to do, kill whoever he wanted to kill, and then the SS and the Gestapo would have to clean it up. So that also happens in this. There's one moment where he actually kills that reporter who offered Theo the job, and the way he explains it in here is that they had to send a letter to America because she was American. They had to send a letter saying that her employee freaked out and killed her, and then he killed himself. So just the way that they have to subtly do everything, I just think of all the propaganda going on at the same time. At the same time, there's another point, not thing. What am I? Thing. There's another point in the book where They were going to kill Theo. He gets captured at one point with Anne Marie, and they were going to kill him, but they were going to wait until a French inspector arrested him, so then America could not blame the Gestapo or the Germans. They would have to blame the French because they had him in their possession. Just real interesting little things like that. If the book would have ended before see, when I read a book, I rarely read the prologue. I'll read the prologue afterwards, but I don't think the prologue is necessary. And yet I always read the epilogue, though. I think if I wouldn't have read this epilogue, I would have enjoyed the book a little more, although it wouldn't have been tied together as tightly. Because the epilogue is simply, I think it's like 20 years later. Maybe not even 20. Maybe 15, 10. I'm gonna say 20, because I'm gonna say it said 1960, and Paris was occupied in the 30s and 40s, I believe. Not all of them, obviously. But it's basically the trial of the one man who was a turncoat. Basically, he got forced into helping the Nazis and then continued to help them kill and, extort money off of these people that thought they were escaping, but they would just kill them. But yeah, Devil at the Crossroads by James Barwick. I'm going to hold it up again just in case I can't get a picture in the video. I highly recommend this book to anybody who likes World War II type scenarios. Anybody who likes a nice, I can't say espionage because it wasn't really a spy book, although he did seem spy-like at sometimes. Not a whole lot of fighting or anything in this. A little bit. There's a little bit of violence. But I wasn't expecting it to be what it was, even though the front says she was Hitler's most shocking legacy, which kind of gives it away. I enjoyed it, and I probably will go after some more of James Barwick's writing. I enjoyed it. If his other stuff is similar to this, I will enjoy it. If not, I'm still going to read it. I read too many books. I have too many books. So hopefully I can get more of these out. So I guess that's me signing off. I think there's too much talk about Nazis to do a salute.